Okay, hello and welcome to our February 23 webinar. I apologize that we had some issues, technical issues with the live portion of that. So we are recording this webinar and appreciate you taking the time to listening to the recorded webinar. We'll figure out too if there is a follow-up opportunity for a Q&A session at a later point in time, or whether we can just have you send us email with the Q&A, but also we will make sure that the email addresses of the panelists are available for all of you. My name is Dirk Meyer. I'm a professor here at Iowa State University, and I'm the director of the Consortium for Innovation in Post-Harvest Loss and Food Waste Reduction. This consortium has been in existence for the last 5 years, and it was created as a partnership between several universities and research institutions around the globe, with a focus on improving livelihood, preserving nutrients, and realizing a more efficient food system. We're focusing on building academic and entrepreneurial capacity by engaging researchers and students in multinational, multidisciplinary teams, together with experts and entrepreneurs from the private and public sector around the world. Before starting, we would like to acknowledge our funding organization, the Rockefeller Foundation and the Foundation for Food and Agricultural Research, as well as our respective institutions that have all invested in the consortium through funding commitments. Just a quick reminder that, yes, this is a recorded webinar at this point in time. We unfortunately did not have a live chat function going to do the recording, but glad to answer any questions post-webinar posting. And it will be on our website that will also be posted. Very excited to have with us here today colleagues from Argentina, presenting on technologies and best practices for reducing post-harvest loss and stored grains. Research and extension update from the National Institute of Agricultural Technology, INTA of Argentina. In particular, Dr. Ricardo Bartosik and his colleagues who will introduce themselves, who have been collaborators in our consortium as well. So Ricardo, all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer, for giving us the opportunity to present in this consortium our research related to different initiatives in terms of post-harvest losses. And the order of the presentation will be myself in the first place, second Diego de la Torre, and third one Bernadette Abadía. We all work for the National Institute of Agricultural Technologies of Argentina in the grain post-harvest area. My presentation, in particular, will be about storage of grains under modified or controlled atmospheres. And okay, let's begin with the presentation. Just to give an overall overview of the technology, in the ambient air, in the surrounding air, we have about 21% of oxygen and 0.04% of carbon dioxide. On the contrary, under modified atmosphere storage conditions, we have basically a barrier between the inside and the outside that prevent the gas exchange, and that creates what we call a modified atmosphere. In this modified atmosphere, oxygen decreases and carbon dioxide increases, and that creates benefits in the conservation of grains, seeds, and other products, such as pest control, decrease in microbial activity, and also you get some reduction in the oxidation process that will affect quality. So modified or controlled atmosphere are a tool that we can use to better preserve and protect the grains and food that we need. In general, the concept of hermetic storage is not new. Ancient civilizations were using the concept of hermetic storage, but probably they didn't know why it works, but they were using it. So what is new about this today? What is new is that we have a better understanding of the mechanism involved in this technology, why they protect the grains and foods. We have plastic liners that allow us to create this hermetic storage in a more reliable way. We also have technologies that are complementary to the liners, such as sealing technologies and technologies for testing, for instance, the hermeticity or the air tightness that you achieve in any of these storage conditions. And also, we have technologies for control and monitoring the control atmosphere. Because of this, the technology today is more reliable, more practical, and more affordable. Here we have in this screen different examples of flexible hermetic storage systems. In the upper and left corner, we have the cocoons, the silo bag in the center, the Australian bunkers, but all those examples are for large quantities, large amounts of grains and seeds. For instance, the cocoons are for up to 400 cubic meters of storage capacity, from a few cubic meters to up to 400 about. The silo bags typically goes up to 200 tons or maybe more, some others, but the Australian bunkers are for several thousand tons of capacity. But we also have small examples like the bags for family agriculture, like the one in the lower and left corner, pigs and grain pro, etc. And also we have this technology applied for big bags from 700 to 1200 kg, for instance. All of these are examples of hermetic storage with flexible liners. Here we have to make a differentiation between the different type of technologies, like self-modified or controlled atmosphere. In the self-modified atmosphere, the modification of the internal atmosphere is caused by biological activity. Basically, we have the respiration of microorganisms and insects that will consume the dry matter of the grain or the seed and produce carbon dioxide and consume the oxygen. And in the long term, it will create a modified atmosphere. On the other hand, controlled atmosphere implies that you have an artifact or a method, a procedure for injecting probably nitrogen or carbon dioxide and modify the concentration up to the level that you require. So those are the two differences in control and self-modified atmosphere. Silo bags are a technology that has in Argentina more than 25 years already, that we use for storing different kind of grains and seeds and byproducts. We use it on farm, as we can see in the left, or and at the large quantities related to the industry or the grain elevators, and they are very well adapted in Argentina. Every year we store between among 50 and 55 million tons of different grains and seeds in these silo bags. From our institution, from INTA, we have to develop this technology and to transfer the knowledge to use this technology properly, not only in Argentina, but also in other countries. Silo bags are well known because they provide supplementary storage capacity to different post-harvest systems. And also they provide a logistic advantage because all the facilities that you can see, for instance, in the picture, that you can set up the bag, the silo bag, right in the field next to the combine, for instance. So it has some logistic advantages, but are less known other features of the silo bag, like easy segregation. You can have segregation capabilities for a very inexpensive cost situation. Also, you can use it for identity preservation from the combine to the silo bag and from the silo bag to the port or to the industry directly without having risk of mixing it in the grain elevator or with other grains, for instance. And which is more important for this presentation, we have the technology for creating a high hermeticity system with silo bags. So you have an inexpensive tool for creating an airtight container for control atmosphere treatments. And this is what is important for us because we can use this to protect the grain without using, for instance, pesticides. To do so, we have to develop other technologies, for instance, the heat sealing systems that we have in Argentina, so you can really have a very nice seal of the beginning and the end of the bag. And also we have developed an automatic pressure system for testing air tightness. So this is a pressure decay test that is we have developed and you can use for estimate how hermetic is your silo bag and decide if you can make a fumigation or controlled atmosphere treatment in the bag. Also, we have developed some other technologies to evaluate the storage risk. For instance, measuring carbon dioxide inside of the silo bag. So the idea is quite simple. Biological activity consumes oxygen and develops carbon dioxide. So if you measure carbon dioxide, you can have an idea of the storage condition. And this is what we have done. And the monitoring system is incorporated into with the quality assurance systems. As you can see in the screen, you can see here in the screen the different silo bags in the order in the risk index from more risky to less risky. Here you have information about the grain, the location of the grain, of the silo bag, and the condition of the particular silo bag that you click here. And it's working very well and is already used. Now, we also developed technology for implementing controlled atmosphere using CO2 in silo bags. Here you have some examples. We inject carbon dioxide in the center of the bag and we do the purging to both ends of the silo bags. And previously, we ran the pressure decay test to certify that the bag has no holes or perforation that will jeopardize the treatment. So we use this for organic grains or grains that require to be pesticide-free for insect treatments. It works very well. We have done this for wheat, malting barley, etc. You might wonder how it works. Here you have in this chart the information of one of our tests. The bag has a pressure decay test of 5 minutes, which means that it's a very good hard-tight condition for the silo bag. We injected up to 80% of carbon dioxide, and after 24 days, we had all the monitoring points above 60% of carbon dioxide. So for running this treatment, air tightness is the key. You have to work for that, and you have to analyze and measure that. With the pressure decay test, you can do it very easily. The silo bag liner, plastic liner, has no specific oxygen barrier, but is good enough for performing this treatment, as you can see here. And this treatment will kill all insects and all stages, so you can certify that you are doing a very good job in terms of pest control. Now, all the knowledge that we acquired using the silo bag, now we are implementing that for developing technologies for creating control atmosphere and traceability system for big bags. So this is our current project. We are doing this with private companies and other institutions, and you can see all the things that we have to take into consideration. This is for organic products or specialty grains like popcorn, lentils, gluten-free grains, species, nuts, etc. But we have to work in the design of the bag, design of the liner, the sealing technology, hard tightness assessment, the injection and purging, and all the system for traceability incorporated. So this is our current project now, and we are working and advancing on this. And another project that we are working, which is related to the previous one, is to develop a fumigation chamber using natural oxygen scavenger. This is more oriented towards smallholders and family farmers. In this case, we use a conventional liner, very inexpensive, a simple liner. It has a very high permeability to the gases. That's it's not good for in that sense, but since we cannot rely on the barrier of the liner, we go for the other concept, which is use grain as oxygen scavenger. So what we do here is to seal the liner with a twisting and folding method, very simple, and then we use wet grain as oxygen scavenger. So we use here in this picture, you can see that 1 kilogram of grinded and soaked wheat will respire the equivalent to 130 to 490 kilograms of dry wheat. So that grain is very good for consuming oxygen and creating a controlled atmosphere. So you can see here that sacrificing only 1% of this grain here, you will get less than 2% of oxygen in 35 days. We have done this, tested this, and do some modeling work, and it works very well. So with this approach, we were able to maintain the quality of the grain or seeds, no insect damage, germination protected, no moisture variation during storage. So this is other project in which we are working right now. And finally, the concept of this is to sacrifice a small portion to protect the bulk. Finally, we also work in technologies for a smaller scale bags for 20 and 30 kg for storing seeds under modified atmosphere. Seeds are basically required to have a very high germination test standard, and you have different processes like microbial activity and aging processes that could be prevented with modified atmosphere or controlled atmosphere, and this is part of our ongoing research. So those are some examples in which we use these technologies for preventing losses in grains, food, and also in seeds. Just to finish, I want to show you, this is the main publication that our team, our group have developed in the last few years related to modified controlled atmosphere storage systems and technologies. And at the end, I will thanks to our colleagues and for the opportunity. And we also want to thanks really to Leo Messi for the World Cup that we won in the last few months. Thank you very much. And I will leave the floor to my colleague, Diego de la Torre.
Okay, thank you, Ricardo. I will share the screen. I'm on it. 1 second, please. Okay. Okay, can you see it?
Not yet. It's still showing.
Mm-hmm. It's okay?
Not yet.
Uh-huh. Let me see. We'll try again. Let me change the. We'll go again. No.
Okay. Now we're in the.
Yes, that's
mode.
not. Okay, that's not the. Let me try again. It worked the first time.
Yeah, still works.
Here we go again. So you see yourself now. So, can you see it now?
No, still not. So maybe Camille, you can just pause this the webinar recording for a moment. Back on, please. All right, all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Ricardo. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Professor Meyer. My name is Diego. I will talk about monitoring the storage condition of grains in large bins with carbon dioxide. I will cover the fundamentals of the using of carbon dioxide as an early indicator of biological activity, the pros and cons compared with the temperature monitoring, different technological alternatives for its implementation, and our approach to this system. Let's start with the fundamentals. Well, the damage or spoilage with grain is associated with the respiration of fungi and insects. They consume the dry matter of the grain and oxygen by respiration for the living, and as a byproduct, they generate heat, CO2, and water. This relation is well known, as Ricardo said previously, and this relation between the CO2 production and the spoilage of the grain is well known. We can make a very we have all the numbers of this relation between the CO2 and the spoilage or the quality damage of the grain. But at a real scale, a mass of grain with a high respiration rate is known as a hotspot. That's because that heat that is generated by respiration is contained because the grain is the grain conductivity is very low. So the mass of grain that is with a high respiration rate increases its temperature. This is what we know like a hotspot. But in the otherwise, the CO2 generated by respiration, because it's a gas, it can travel along the air trapped in between grains, and so we can see a rise in the CO2 concentration around the hotspot. We can imagine it like a bubble that grows around the hotspot with a high CO2 concentration. At the first sight, we can see that if we want to detect this hotspot where the grain is losing its quality, it will be much easier to detect this big bubble of CO2 high concentration than this little spot of warmer grain. Anyway, the standard technology to monitoring the quality of grain are big bins like the one in the schedule is a temperature monitoring. The challenge of these systems is the sensor distribution. At least we have a sensor temperature next to a hotspot. It could be that we cannot detect that hotspot. So we have a trade-off between the cost or number of sensors and the effectiveness of the system. Anyway, this is the standard technology today. Experts have been trying to apply the CO2 monitoring since the early 80s. I show here an old paper from Canada. But at this moment, and this early moment, there were some limitations related to the sensors, the CO2 sensor, that avoid them to make a practical apply of the system. Maybe the first big scale application of CO2 monitoring was the CO2 monitoring in silo bag, as Ricardo already said. But well, this is a very different structure where due to the air tightness of the silo bag that make easier to trap the CO2 inside the silo bag and to measure it. It's very different in a bin where the air tightness is not the condition. So, which will be the pros and cons between the two systems, monitoring system of grain in bins? Well, the CO2 monitoring has a very early detection. It's easy to maintain because it needs very not too much sensors. It's very high sensitivity. It has a very low cost, also because it needs not too many sensors. But well, it's an incoming technology. People is not familiar with it, and the data interpretation could be a bit tricky. On the other hand, the temperature monitoring has a later detection. It needs that this hotspot grow enough to be detected by the temperature sensor. It's expensive and difficult to maintain because you need many sensors inside the silo, and there's a trade-off between the cost and sensitivity. So this is all cons. But well, this is a standard technology. Everybody knows how it works. Everybody knows how to interpret the data. So that's a good thing. Anyway, what we think is that these two technologies can work very well together. We think they're complementary. So we think they can really do a very good job preventing the spoilage of the grain if you use them together. Well, during the last year, the technology in sensors improved very much. So now we have different technological alternatives to the CO2 monitoring. There are some systems that use sensors in the headspace of the silos. Others that use sensors immersed in the grain, and others that use sensors in the airstream of the aeration system. The first ones, those that have sensors be tricky to interpret the data. Those who have the sensor immersed in the grain seems to be better, but as the same as the others, the ones with the sensors in the headspace, could be a little bit delay in detection of a hotspot if the hotspot is too far from the sensor. So it needs the CO2 concentration to get really high to be detected by these sensors. And the third one, those who have the sensor in the earthing of the aeration system, works when the fan turns on and move all the air trapped inside the grain and force it to pass through the sensor. This active mode, we think, is a good approach, and I will talk about it a little bit later. INTA has been working on this for a long time, and together with a local company, Ingeniería Electrónica Argentina, developed a system called Control. This is a commercial name. Our approach is to use CO2 sensors in the roof of the silo, in the ventilations located in the roof of the silo. We found that we don't need more than 4 sensors to do the job, and we have a 2-mode system. One is an active mode where the controller with algorithm sends an order to the fan to turn on and force the air to move all the air inside the silo through the sensor in the roof. This is the active mode. The sensors measure the CO2 concentration, and I show you here the data in this chart where you can see the CO2 concentration versus time. And well, this information is taken by the system. The algorithm made some numbers and triggered a warning signals depending on the shape of this CO2 versus time profile. If everything could be okay, could be an alert, or could be an emergency if the CO2 concentration rises too high. In any case, this warning is sent to the operator to take action in case it's necessary, and also these warnings are uploaded to the cloud to be available for a supervisor. The system has another mode that is a passive mode that uses this sensor in the roof as a slave sensor in the headspace. In case this hotspot is located in the upside of the mass of grain, it could be detected even when the fan is not working. We think the system is very good, works very well. We have 2 years of trials on it, on big structure of a capacity from 500 to 1,000 to 10 tons, and it works very well. We think it's very promising. Well, thank you very much. I can answer all your questions related to this data.
So will I start sharing my screen now? Could you please confirm if you can see?
Not coming through yet.
Can you see it?
Not yet, but coming through now. Yes, all set. Go ahead.
Can you see the complete view?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I will start. Thank you very much for this invitation, Dr. Meyer. My name is Bernadette Abadía, and today I will be speaking about the implementation of quality assurance systems in grain storage facilities in Argentina. So let me first provide you with some context. Argentina produces 130 million tons of grains every year. This represents approximately 50% of the world grain train, not only of grain, but also of byproducts. Argentina has 4,200 elevators, with an aggregated storage capacity of nearly 70 million tons. The shortage of storage capacity is covered every year with silo bags. Nearly 50 to 55 million tons, as Ricardo explained before, are stored in these flexible structures. This information, however, does not tell us much whether the Argentine facilities are prepared to deal with the increasing concerns of grain safety and quality. Therefore, in our team, we conducted a research study to address this question. We took a representative sample of grain facilities in 5 provinces of Argentina. The sample was taken here in the East Center region of the country because this is the most important grain production region in Argentina. In those facilities, we recorded 20 variables by means of service to facility managers. Those variables covered different aspects of the facility, such as structural features, for example, the size or capacity of storage and turnover ratio. Also technological aspects, such as grain reception capacity, sampling capacity, drying capacity, grain monitoring, aeration, and automation. And finally, the variables covered some insect control practices, such as bean cleaning, fumigation, and protectant insecticides. These variables were very interesting for us because they are related to grain safety through the presence of pesticide residues on the grain. The data was analyzed using a multiple correspondent analysis and afterwards a cluster analysis. And let me show you what we got. So the multiple correspondence analysis allowed us to segregate the facilities in our sample into 3 groups according to their size and their technology level, which is mainly represented in this horizontal axis. And in the second place, this analysis allowed us to segregate the facilities along this axis, which is related to some of the handling practices. And so we could classify our sample into 3 groups. If we had to put a simple 1 or 2 words name to each of these clusters, we would say that this cluster includes the large facilities with the higher technology level within the sample. This group includes the intermediate size and intermediate technology level facilities. And this third group includes small size facility with also the lower technology. Notice that the storage capacity is correlated with the technology level. So we concluded that this group of facilities could achieve or could accomplish high quality standards for grain management, incorporating some minor management improvements, while the group in the middle should incorporate some minor management improvements, but also some technology investments to achieve these high quality and safety standards. And the last group, integrated by the smaller facilities, should make important improvements in their management practices and also strong investments. Fortunately, 95% of the grain in the sample was handled by these 2 groups, which were the more technified groups. And so this allowed us to think that the post-harvest sector in Argentina is favorable position in general to handle grains with high quality standards of quality and safety. Some failures that we detected all along the three groups that were common to the three groups was the lack of documentation of the practices related to grain safety. And therefore, this encouraged us as a group to develop some tools for the post-harvest sector in Argentina, which were a quality assurance system and also a training program for employees of grain facilities. And that is what I will talk about in the following slides. For further details on the results or the methodology of this research study, you can visit our journal publication. So we made a proposal of a quality assurance system. We like to give a very simple definition of what is a quality assurance system. And it is mainly a series of procedures and their associated records, which guarantee grain safety during storage, together with a low environmental impact and workers' safety and health. In our proposal of a quality assurance system, we detected which were the key processes of for a grain elevator, and we wrote specific procedures for each of those processes, ranging from classification of silos based on the airflow, grain sampling during reception, grain quality analysis, drying, aeration of dry and wet grain, grain quality monitoring, insect monitoring, use of protectant insecticides, and fumigations. So here, let me show you how one of these procedures looks like. It has, of course, a title of the procedure, the name of the company, the objective of the procedure, the scope, the necessary definitions, the responsibilities of the people which are involved in the procedure, legal aspects which can be related to the procedure, the development of the procedure itself, and finally, the associated documentation, for example, the records which are linked to the procedure. Shortly after, we had the opportunity to put this system into practice with a large cooperative in Buenos Aires province. This cooperative has 7 subsidiaries in different locations in the south of Buenos Aires provinces. And within these 7 subsidiaries, we found different technological and management practices criteria. And well, the managers of the different subsidiaries expressed that they needed some homogeneous criteria for grain handling among the subsidiaries. And that is when we proposed to implement a quality assurance system to address these issues. To guide you through the steps of the implementation of the quality assurance system, in the first place, we made a diagnosis of the equipment, the infrastructure, and the management practices of these 7 elevator facilities. This was done during in-person visits. Afterwards, and based on the results of the diagnosis, we offered some training in general post-harvest topics. Afterwards, we adapted our procedures and the available records to the specific needs of these 7 different facilities. We offered, in the next place, some training in specific aspects of the quality assurance systems, such as details related to the procedures or the way to fulfill the records. Once this was done, the workers of the different elevators were in charge of the implementation itself of the procedures and the records. After a while, we organized an audit of those records in order to see how that had evolved, if they had any trouble fulfilling the records or following the procedures, and we detected the non-conformities, and that allowed us to propose some improvements to the procedures. So the benefits of the quality assurance system for the users were mainly expressed by these people of the cooperative. They expressed that they felt more confident for managing the grain quality and safety in their facility. They expressed also that they felt more confident in preventing grain losses. They were happy about the possibility of making decisions based on their own data. And specifically, they highlighted that they could improve aeration management and, of course, the grain quality outcomes of that aeration strategies, that they use the protectant insecticides in a more rational way, and finally, that they could systematize the monitoring of grain quality. Here it is important to tell that all these conclusions are based on the testimonies of the users. We haven't made any particular measures, and therefore these are subjective opinions. So for us, we believe that the outcomes of the experience and the perspectives that this methodology that we developed for the implementation of the quality assurance system resulted feasible and beneficial for the users. This precedent attracted the attention of other companies for implementing these quality assurance systems, and now in the near future we'll be helping some cooperatives and some private companies to implement this system for their own organizations. Finally, I would like to share our experience in developing Pro-Granos, Pro-Grain, which is a grain post-harvest training initiative of our group. Pro-Granos or Pro-Grain was developed by our group in INTA in collaboration with the University of Mar del Plata and with Iowa State University. Mainly, the program consists of a series of grain post-harvest courses. These post-harvest courses are fully remote, so we can get to a big audience of students, facility managers, facility workers, technical advisors all over the world. Also, the courses are asynchronous, so the students can take the courses in the moment that they consider the most convenient. The courses include theoretical content, exercises, and tests, which are all provided through Iowa State University web platform. For the moment, all the courses are in Spanish. And so far, we have trained more than 500 students from all the sectors of the grain industry, and not only from Argentina, but also other Spanish-speaking countries all over Latin America. Currently, the available courses that we are offering are the Introduction to Grain Post-Harvest, Fundamentals of Aeration, Integrated Pest Management and Grain Safety, Seed Post-Harvest, and Fundamentals and Technologies for Grain Storage in Silo bags. This is one of the flyers that we use to advertise these training offers. Hopefully this year we will have 3 new courses: grain handling operations, grain drying, and quality of grain and byproducts. If anyone is interested in looking for further information on the courses, like starting dates, topics, etc., you can visit us in our website. These are some of the extension books that we developed in our group, and we use them as a complementary material for delivering the courses. And to finish this part of the webinars, I would like to share with you our last project within the group, which was the opening of the pilot plant facility. This is the first example of this kind of facilities in Argentina. The objective of the pilot plant facility is to allow us to develop and test grain post-harvest technology in a pilot scale, together with different users or different sectors which can be interested in developing or testing different technologies, for example, from the grain industry, grain elevators, specialty industries, ports, and so on. It is also a suitable place for offering hands-on training in different post-harvest operations, and it can also serve our group as a complement for extension activities. So here you can see 3 of our little bins, a silo bag, big bags. All these are research studies that are going on right now, and which we are developing at the pilot plant facility. And we also have some demonstrative tools to offer some training to students or even professionals of the grain industry. So that would be it. Thank you so much for listening, for your attention. And there is my email in case you want to request any further information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bernadette and Diego and Ricardo, for your excellent presentations. Again, apologies for the technical glitch that we've had in terms of not being able to offer your webinar live. We'll get that resolved, and we'll get the recording certainly posted. And I do want to take a few moments and do a few questions that I would anticipate, people being additionally curious about. Well, first off, what you have presented represents a tremendous amount of work by a great team that you've built over the last, 20-some years almost now. So it's amazing in terms of what you've been able to accomplish, and also, the publications, manuscripts, handbooks, hands-on training, online training that your group is offering, serving really all of Latin America, right? I mean, you have people participating from many, many countries, and maybe that's one of the things you can comment just a little bit more about your experience with the online training and then the interaction that you've had with participants, over time. How is that going?
All right. Yeah, thanks, Dirk. We started with these initiatives in cooperation with Iowa State, I believe 3-4 years ago. We have a previous experience through Pro-Granos, which is a JIBS association, sister association in Argentina, Bernadette showed in her presentation that we have 4,200 storage facilities in Argentina, but what she didn't tell is that they are spread all around the country. So it's very difficult to reach each one of them physically. So we have a strong demand of training, and we try to cover in-company kind of training sessions, which were very difficult for us to satisfy all the requests. And also we have in our facilities, training sessions, courses, seminars in presence. but then we decided to go with this program online, basically taking some initiative as an example, some initiatives that you in the US maybe are more familiar for a longer time, and it ended up being a big success for us and a very good tool. We have some courses, we have more than 50 participants. Usually the 70-75% from Argentina and 20-25-30% from all other countries from Latin America. And what we see is that the people that takes one of these courses usually take more than one because it's so convenient for them. This asynchronic feature is very good, and I think, of course, the COVID pandemic, I think, brought all of us more into the virtual world, and I think it was a very good. Now it's a very good complement of our strategy for extension in this issue. So it's working very well, and we have also some requests also from Brazil for translating some courses into probably Portuguese. So I think it's a very good tool, and we hope to keep developing more contents for this initiative.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Diego, you were sharing about this CO2 monitoring technology and how you now have developed an integration of the CO2 sensors with an automation type of a control system. Is that commercially available? Is it only going to be available through the one company that you are working with, or what is the prospect of that technology or accessibility technology, you know, even outside of Argentina as we look ahead? I think you may be muted, or at least I can't hear you.
Sorry. Yes, Dave,
yeah,
we have a contract with this company for the development and also for the commercialization. And it will be available for, I think, for the next month. It's already, all the development work is already done. It's so the company can commercialize it I don't know, right now, I suppose, or in the next month. It will be available for Argentina for sure, and also for everyone around the world. But it will be for Argentina, will be for sure the first real available system here. Because of the cost and other issues, it will be the first real applicable system here in Argentina.
Okay, and one other question related to that: do you have any concerns about the limitation, you know, in terms of the size of a silo or the size of a flat storage structure in terms of or a CO2 measurement, or is there a scaling factor or scaling approach that needs to be considered as silo diameters and storage structures get bigger and bigger?
Well, we already made trials with really big structures, with really big bins of 10,000 tons. So we are very confident about the efficiency. Maybe for a flat storage structure, it will need more sensors depending on the size, but the system allows that to incorporate more sensors. The fact that it combines these two modes of passive and active mode it's a very good system for big structure. In a small structure, in a farm bin, it's much easier. Even a passive mode could work maybe, but this active mode with combination with the fan allows the system to work very well in very big structures.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is very exciting news. Bernadette, quality assurance or quality management systems, they have been around some time. So as you've described it for grain elevators, grain handling companies, grain aggregators, is this new in Argentina, or is this just an enhanced approach that you're providing? What is the general responsiveness by the industry to adopt quality management systems and these standard operating procedures that you're outlining?
Okay, well, in the diagnosis that we performed, we specifically asked the facilities whether they had some sort of quality assurance program or best management practice program, and we found virtually that was non-existent in our facilities. So we thought that that would be a very promising tool in order to organize some of the operation of this facility, and in order to prove that they are doing things right to accomplish these requirements of grain quality and safety. The thing is, I believe that the incentives or the motivations in Argentina to implement this kind of quality assurance systems are not so strong or not so clear so far. Maybe that is different in the food industry, where lots of quality assurance systems have already been developed and implemented and certificated. Also, the primary production has evolved a lot in that sense, certificating the primary production, certificating that they are producing under quality assurance standards. But specifically in the post-harvest sector, that demands for moving towards quality assurance systems haven't been that clear so far, and so the grain facilities haven't been so far that motivated to implement this extra effort, which is to documentate and to register all the relevant information of the procedures. So I believe that is one of the main limitations for a massive adoption of these quality assurance systems. And however, in the last few years, we have been perceiving some changes in this sense, and we have received many requests to help different facilities, different companies, different cooperatives to organize in some way to organize and to document their operations. So I believe this is starting to move in some sense.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's very similar as what we're observing in other countries too when it comes to the grain-related industry. Before we close out, I want to turn back to Ricardo. Ricardo, is there anything else that you would like to add or share on behalf of your team? I know we also have developed an app, the grain aeration and storage app that's available both for the Android and iPhone platforms. I don't know what else you're working on or would like to share or have a final word.
Yes, in fact, I think I just posted in the chat. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, we have developed in cooperation with Iowa State University, and we call tool for aeration and storage, basically. That is an app that you can download from Google Play Store for free. It comes in different languages, including English, Spanish, of course, French, and Portuguese. And you have like different tools inside Some of them can help you to identify the safe storage condition based on the equilibrium moisture content of the grain. Others can help you to identify the good hours for aeration, taking into consideration the forecast of the weather for the next coming days. So I would say that it's a very interesting tool and could be of benefit for grain operator, grain managers in different parts of the world. It's supposed to work worldwide, so we have some good comments around. And also, this is the idea that we have is a ongoing development. So we will keep adding other features to this app in the future. And also we have other tools for aeration, fan sizing and aeration design, called fans or IRR, which is also for free. You can access through this through INTA website. So if you send us an email about this program, we can share the information, and you can use this program for sizing and selecting aeration fan and designing aeration ducts and all that kind of stuff. So I think that this is the most important thing that we can share here in this seminar.
All right, good. Again, thank you so much, all three of you, for your excellent and very informative presentation. And appreciate you making the time. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties, but we'll be posting the recordings. Camille has already informed people that had registered for the webinar. Jorge, do we have any announcements going forward?
No, I think we'll just be waiting on the date for the next month's webinar, which will be communicated to all the participants and all to our mailing list. So, but that would be coming up soon.